Have you ever felt trapped inside your own mind? Not by something outside you, not by the world, not by other people, but by your thoughts. You sit alone, the room is quiet, yet your mind is louder than ever. One thought becomes two, two become 10, 10 become a storm you never asked for. A simple question turns into a spiral. A small worry becomes a disaster in your imagination. And suddenly, you're not living in the moment anymore. You're living inside an endless what if. What if I make the wrong decision? What if people judge me? What if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? You replay the same scenes again and again, like a movie stuck on repeat. You try to stop, but your mind pulls you back, whispering, think a little more. Maybe this time you'll find certainty, but certainty never comes. And deep inside, a quiet question rises. Why am I like this? Why do I overthink so much? You're not alone. Millions of people wake up every day carrying the same invisible weight. They smile on the outside, but inside they are fighting a battle no one sees, a battle against their own thoughts. Overthinking feels like protection. It feels like you're preparing yourself, analyzing every angle, making sure nothing goes wrong. But the truth is quieter and heavier. Overthinking is not protection. It is pressure, it is exhaustion, it is fear wearing the mask of responsibility. And the more you think, the less you act. The more you replay, the more you delay. The more you try to be perfect, the more you feel stuck. But here's the part no one tells you. Overthinking doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. It means your mind is trying to keep you safe in the only way it knows how, by predicting danger before it even appears. Yet in that attempt to protect you, your mind sometimes forgets something important. You are stronger than your fears. You are wiser than your doubts. You are capable of more than the storm in your head suggests. Tonight, in this moment as you watch this video, I want you to breathe just one deep breath, because this is the beginning of understanding your mind. Not fighting it, not hating it, but understanding it. Overthinking is not your identity. It is a pattern, a habit, a psychological loop that can be broken once you understand what drives it. And that's what we are going to explore together. Not with complicated theories, not with heavy scientific terms, but with clarity, honesty, and warmth. The kind a speaker shares with someone sitting in the front row, eyes full of tired hope, wanting change. By the end of this series, I want you to see your mind differently. I want you to understand why your thoughts sometimes turn against you. I want you to finally feel what it's like to breathe without fear, choose without hesitation, and live without drowning in possibilities. This is not just a video. This is a moment of transformation. A message meant for you, the you behind the smile, the you behind the stress, the you who wants peace but doesn't know how to reach it. Let's take this journey together. Let's understand the psychology behind overthinking. Let's bring light into the places your mind has kept in shadow for too long. Because you deserve clarity, you deserve calm, you deserve freedom from the noise inside your head. This is where it begins. Now that we've opened the door to understanding, let's step inside the mind and look at what overthinking really is. Not the symptoms, not the surface behavior, but the psychology beneath it. Overthinking begins with one thing: your brain trying to protect you. That's right. Your mind is not attacking you. It's defending you, but in a way that sometimes becomes overwhelming. In psychology, this is connected to something called threat analysis. Your brain is constantly scanning the world, looking for danger, mistakes, or risks. It learned this from thousands of years of human survival. Back then, hesitation could save your life. Today, it often keeps you stuck. When your brain feels uncertainty, it reacts the same way it would to danger. It triggers worry. It triggers doubt. It tells you to think more, plan more, analyze more. Not because something is wrong, but because your brain fears something might go wrong. And this is where the cycle starts. You get a thought. Your brain says, better check that again. You check it again. Your brain says, what if you missed something? You go back and think even deeper. Thought after thought, layer after layer. A loop that grows stronger the more you feed it. Psychologists call this a negative feedback loop. A cycle where your attempt to feel safe actually makes you feel less safe. And suddenly thinking becomes a trap instead of a tool. But why does this happen more intensely for some people than others? Because overthinking is tied to two powerful emotional forces: fear and control. Fear makes you imagine the worst. Control makes you believe you can prevent it if you think just a little more. You fear rejection, so you replay conversations in your head. You fear failure, so you overanalyze your decisions. You fear judgment, so you obsess over how others see you. You fear loss, so you imagine every outcome. This fear tries to convince you that one perfect thought will finally bring peace. But peace never comes from pressure. It comes from clarity. Another psychological factor behind overthinking is the mind's bias toward negativity. Humans naturally remember painful events more than happy ones. Why? Because the brain stores negative experiences as warnings. It treats them as lessons for survival. So when you're about to take a step forward, your brain brings up every past embarrassment, every failure, every time things didn't go as planned, not to punish you, but to protect you. But here's the catch. Your mind doesn't know the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. To your brain, a future mistake feels as dangerous as a wild animal standing in front of you. That's why your chest tightens. That's why your thoughts race. That's why even small decisions feel heavy. Overthinking is your brain acting like a smoke detector that's too sensitive. It goes off even when there's no fire. And it gets worse when you're tired, stressed, or emotionally overloaded. Your brain becomes even louder, even more reactive, even more desperate to keep you safe by keeping you thinking. But understanding this gives you power, because awareness is the first step to breaking the loop. When you know your mind is reacting out of fear, you stop seeing yourself as broken. You stop calling yourself weak. You stop thinking there's something wrong with you. Overthinking does not mean you are incapable. It means you care deeply. It means you imagine possibilities vividly. It means you have a mind that works overtime because it wants the best for you. But that same powerful mind can be taught, guided, and calmed. And next, the breakthrough moment, the shift that changes everything, the insight that turns overthinking from a prison into a path towards strength. Now that you understand why your mind overthinks, it's time for the shift, the moment everything changes. Because here's the truth you've needed to hear for years. The goal is not to stop thinking. The goal is to stop living inside your thoughts. Overthinking only has power when you believe every thought deserves attention. But thoughts are not commands. Thoughts are not predictions. Thoughts are not reality. They are simply signals, some useful, some not. Imagine this. You're sitting at a train station. Every train that passes is a thought. Some trains are calm, some are chaotic. Some carry fear, doubt, or old memories. Overthinking is when you feel forced to jump on every single train, even the ones going to places you don't want to visit. But you don't have to board every train. You can watch it arrive and watch it leave. This is the breakthrough. A thought is only a thought, nothing more. It has no weight unless you pick it up. It has no power unless you believe it. Overthinking is not a sign that your mind is broken. It's a sign that your mind needs direction. Your brain has been acting like an overprotective guardian, loud, anxious, always preparing for disaster, because no one ever taught it that you are safe now. So let me reframe the entire pattern for you. When you overthink, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're trying too hard to be perfect. You want to predict everything so nothing can hurt you. You want certainty, so you never have to face disappointment again. But life doesn't reward perfect thinking. Life rewards courageous action. There is a moment, a small invisible moment, between a thought and your response to it. In that moment lies your freedom. In that moment you can say, I hear this thought. I feel this fear, but I choose not to follow it. That single decision is where overthinking begins to dissolve. Because the real breakthrough is this. You don't need more clarity, you need more trust. Trust in your ability to handle things even if they go wrong. Trust in your strength, not your fear. Trust that you don't need to think 20 steps ahead to survive. Trust that your future doesn't require mental punishment. It requires movement. And movement doesn't come from perfect thoughts. It comes from imperfect action. Think about how many moments in your life were ruined by thoughts that never became reality. How many nights were spent worrying about conversations that never happened? How many decisions were delayed because you imagined a problem that never came? You deserve to step out of that mental cage. You deserve to live a life where your thoughts guide you, not trap you. A life where your mind becomes a tool, not a storm. And the way forward begins with one powerful, life-changing realization. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are the one choosing which thoughts to feed and which thoughts to release. Your mind is a storyteller. Sometimes it tells stories of danger. Sometimes it tells stories of fear. But you are the narrator who decides which story becomes your life. And once you understand that, overthinking loses its grip. It becomes background noise instead of the main character. It becomes a whisper instead of a prison. This is your breakthrough. This is the perspective shift your mind has been waiting for. This is the moment you take back control, not by forcing your thoughts to disappear, but by choosing which ones matter. Now it's time for the final step, the call to action. The turning point where you stop understanding change and start living it. You've come this far. You've felt the weight of overthinking. You've seen the psychology behind it. You've experienced the breakthrough. Now it's time for the most important part, the moment where understanding becomes transformation. Because knowing why you overthink is not enough. You must now choose a new path. A path where your mind becomes your partner, not your prison. A path where you no longer drown in possibilities, but rise with purpose. So I want you to hear this clearly. You are allowed to take action before you feel ready. You are allowed to choose peace over perfection. You are allowed to trust yourself, even when your thoughts try to scare you. From this point forward, when your mind starts spiraling, remind yourself of one simple truth. Not every thought deserves your attention. You don't have to chase every fear. You don't have to argue with every doubt. You don't have to solve every imagined problem before it exists. Sometimes courage is not a roar. Sometimes courage is choosing to move, even when your thoughts beg you to wait. And do you know what happens when you do that? Your brain learns something new. It learns that you are stronger than the fear. It learns that action is not dangerous. It learns that you don't need 1,000 thoughts to make one decision. This is how new patterns are built. Not in big dramatic moments, but in small choices repeated again and again. Choosing to speak even when your mind fears judgment. Choosing to start even when your mind says it's not perfect. Choosing to rest even when your mind wants to rehearse every mistake. Step by step, day by day, the loop begins to loosen. The storm begins to quiet. The noise begins to fade. And slowly something beautiful happens. Your mind begins to trust you. Not the fears, not the doubts, not the endless what if, but you become the leader. You become the one guiding your thoughts instead of being dragged by them. You become the calm in the middle of your mental storm. And from that calm, life becomes clearer. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. You start feeling possibilities instead of pressure. You start living from intention instead of fear. This is the version of you that has always existed underneath the noise, the version that is strong, capable, observant, grounded. So today I want you to make a promise to yourself. A simple one, a powerful one. Tell yourself, I choose clarity over chaos. I choose action over fear. I choose to guide my thoughts, not be ruled by them. Because you deserve a life that feels lighter. You deserve a mind that feels like home, not a battlefield. You deserve peace that isn't stolen by imaginary disasters. And that peace begins with one brave step. Trusting yourself enough to move forward, even if your thoughts aren't perfect. Let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you finally step out of the mental fog. Let this be the moment you reclaim your life from the noise inside your head. You are not the overthinking. You are not the fear. You are not the endless cycle of what if. You are the voice that rises above it. You are the light that cuts through it. You are the strength that has survived every storm your mind has ever created. And now, you are the one who steps forward. The world is waiting. Your future is waiting. Your peace is waiting. Take the step, trust yourself, and walk into the life that has been calling your name all along. This is your moment. This is your beginning. This is your freedom.